What?
No time to explain! Run!
Family Politics, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This is one of the very last missions in the game given by Queen Victoria during the epilogue. This one, in particular, is more tedious than anything, as you've got to steal a royal carriage. For 100%, you need to steal the carriage without entering the courtyard. The courtyard that the carriages are all inside. And no, dropping down from above does not count. To achieve this, you've got to scare the horses so much that they flee the courtyard completely, and then chase them down. Worse, the horse will crash into things, and the second mission condition is to keep the carriage health above 50%. If you're unlucky, you may have already failed that by the time you catch up. Caress of Steel, Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Might be rid of them once and for all.
I make my own luck.
Of all Shay's targets, Hope might be the most frustrating as she's the source of the assassins' poison. Trapped in a mansion, Shay's first optional objective is to not touch the gas Hope has pumped into the room, which is easy enough if you just follow the platforming route. However, inevitably, Shay gets poisoned, and then has to track down Hope and assassinate her. But the poison degrades his health if he slows down, and the next optional requirement is to stay out of combat. You can't be slow and stealthy or you'll die, which makes this mission excruciating, especially because Hope just runs around the mansion in a circle in an area full of enemies. Return to Mexico, Assassin's Creed 3, Liberation.
You are no assassin. You are my daughter.
This is the notorious canoe mission. Easily the worst part of Liberation, this mission is tricky in more ways than one. First is the previously mentioned canoe sequence, which is very finicky to control and takes a while to get the hang of. There are no 100% objectives for the canoeing part, however. That comes later, when Aveline has a sliding block puzzle she has to complete in 5 moves or less. If you're not good at puzzles, then this might require you to look up the optimal solution online. But the worst part is that if you do want to replay the mission later, even if you know exactly how to complete the puzzle perfectly, you'll still have to do the canoe segment all over again. The Champion, Part 2. Assassin's Creed Revelations.
That same brute has now set his sights on the printer's father, a local herald.
This was also on our hardest missions video, but it's even trickier if you want to complete the 100% option. Ezio and his apprentice need to defend a herald from assassination, a standard mission type in the series. But to get 100%, you've got to not let the herald take any damage, which requires sticking to him like glue and just getting lucky. Many completionists were confounded by this mission, using all kinds of tactics, including traps and elaborate bombs to try and defend him. The best strategy is to stay near him and throw stink bombs to stun everybody who gets close, and then take them out easily. Requiem, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. It was almost perfect, but Brotherhood had a big problem. If you failed the optional objectives, you would have to replay the entire mission later on to get them. Eventually, Ubisoft changed this, resetting the objectives every time you reload a checkpoint, but it makes 100%ing Brotherhood very difficult indeed. This particular mission has one simple requirement: don't get detected. But it's very long and is yet another time Ezio has to break into the Castello, not to mention that the enemy placements seem to be constructed in such a way that not getting detected is near impossible. And then, if you get detected right at the end, you'll have to replay all the way from the start. The Giant and the Storm, Assassin's Creed 3. All you have to do for this one is destroy 2 waves of ships and a British man-o-war, except with the added requirement you defeat the ships by igniting the powder kegs. That amount of precision is almost impossible during a naval battle. The strategy is to use the chain shot to destroy the mass of the enemy ships, and then ram the ships and finally target the powder stores with the swivels. But remember, if you've upgraded the Aquila's RAM, you might destroy the ships before you get to do this. So don't upgrade the RAM for the entire game just to get 100% on this one mission. The Escape, Assassin's Creed Unity.
What?
No time to explain! Run!
If it's your first time playing Unity, achieving 100% sync on this mission might seem almost impossible, since you really need to know the route ahead of time. Elise is in a hot air balloon, and as Arno, you need to both keep up with the rogue balloon and not touch the ground to get full synchronization. It's not just platforming either. You've also got to take off the guards trying to shoot down the balloon, and you've got to do it quickly. Losing the balloon won't fail the mission, it'll just hang around until you get near enough again, but it will fail the optional objective, meaning you'll have to replay if you want it to unlock. The Siege of Charlestown, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Another one that's difficult in its own right, even without extra objectives, the Siege of Charlestown is one of those missions you'd much rather skip. The whole thing is silly from the start, as it begins as a ship-tailing mission through a swamp the Jackdaw isn't built for. Periodically, the ship stops and Edward has to disembark to clear a watchtower, and when he does, you get the optional objective to use sleep darts on 3 crocodiles and then skin a crocodile. It's just a hassle to do this on top of an already very annoying mission. Plus, when the ship tailing is over, guess what you have to do next? That's right, regular tailing! And then a long scripted chase that's all too easy to mess up. The Battle of Bunker Hill, Assassin's Creed 3. This mission is infamous among fans for having very difficult optional requirements. First, Connor has to cross the battlefield without taking damage. This can be confusing at first, but the trick is to ignore the sound effects of the guns firing, and to instead look at where they flash in the distance, using that to time your runs between cover. After you've accomplished this, you've then got to air assassinate John Pitcairn. To do this, there's a very specific platforming route through tents, over the trees, and then onto a flagpole that Ubisoft wants you to follow, which isn't immediately apparent. And you've also got to remain undetected, as if the rest of it wasn't bad enough. Hell on Wheels, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
No instructions, of course. Forward!
All the War Machine missions can be a nightmare to complete. But while the Flying Machine level is plain awful no matter what objectives you're doing, the mission where Ezio tracks down Leonardo's tank is relatively simple unless you're going for 100%. In that case, you're not allowed to let the tank take any damage. The best way to do this is to cheese the game by breaking the door of the final fort but not going inside, meaning you can destroy the obstacles and enemy tanks before they aggro, and once you get in there, keep moving. But remember, this is Brotherhood. If you take even the smallest amount of damage, you'll need to replay the entire mission from the beginning.
Check out these other great clips from Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.